The Five Levels of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. There are 5 levels of leadership. First, position, based on rights. People follow because they have to. Second, permission, based on relationships. People follow because they want to. Third, production, based on results. People follow because of what one has done for the organization. Fourth, people development, based on reproduction. People follow because of what one has done for them. Finally, the pinnacle, based on respect. People follow because of who one is and what they represent. Each level has its upside, downside, best behaviors, and relationship to the laws of leadership. First, let's define the thesis. In this book, Maxwell proves that the ultimate goal of leadership is not gaining followers or doing work, but developing others into leaders that achieve. With each successive level, the thesis becomes clearer as the focus is less on gaining influence or achieving results, but shifts toward developing top leaders. He also explains what leadership is and how to grow as a leader. A few words from the author.
Hi, my name is John Maxwell, and for 25 years I lectured on the subject, the 5 levels of leadership. I watched this teaching change lives. It taught people what leadership is, and it taught people how to grow as a leader. Finally, I have written the book for you, for the same purpose, to teach you what leadership is and teach you how to grow as a leader. This is an important subject because everything rises and falls on leadership. So as you read the 5 levels of leadership, you're going to learn what leadership is, but even more importantly, you're going to learn how to grow as a leader. You see, leadership is a verb, not a noun. It's progressive, it builds, and that's what I want for you. So happy reading the 5 levels of leadership.
Level 1, position. Position is the foundation that real influence and leadership must be developed upon. Maxwell proves that the ultimate goal for leaders, developing other leaders, can only exist with a leadership position. The upside of Level 1 is that leaders now have an invitation to improve themselves and define their leadership style. In order to do this, they must know themselves and their values, and then practice habits and systems to live them out. The downside of position is based on what true leadership is really about. Leaders may rely on their position for power and undermine people because of a desire for security. They may control rather than contribute, leading to a low morale and effort in the workplace. How can leaders make the most of their position? By not relying on position for influence, but instead letting go of security and control to take the responsibility and risk to motivate and encourage others. Leaders at Level 1 must change the way they think about others and about leadership. They must value people over their position and lead with others, including them and placing them ahead. Let's take a look at how this level relates to a few of the laws of leadership. First, the law of the lid. To increase their effectiveness, Level 1 leaders must focus on developing their leadership potential rather than focusing on keeping their position. Next, the law of process. Although leaders receive their position in a day, their leadership development is a lifelong process they must work at daily. Finally, the law of navigation. In order for position leaders to be able to chart the course, they must work to move up to a higher level of leadership. Level 2, permission. Permission is the first step into leadership for management. Leaders gain influence and people follow. At this stage, Maxwell's thesis begins to take place because the shift moves from focusing on one's position to focusing on the people in the organization. The upside of Level 2 is that it creates a pleasant working environment. Since the focus has shifted from me to we, the energy in the environment increases, with open communication among workers that involves genuine listening. Permission leaders truly value and lift up people, which builds up trust, forms relationships, and leads to leadership permission. The downside of permission involves a balance. A leader must work with hard factors, productivity, and soft factors, relationships. Those focused on the hard side must slow down to build relationships and manage a balance between the two. On the other hand, those focused on the soft side must realize that they cannot please everybody. A leader's goal is to help people, not make them happy. Also, a relationship reveals flaws in both the leader and the follower. A leader must admit his or her flaws and accept others as well. How can leaders gain people's permission? By first connecting with themselves, then taking the initiative to connect with others. A leader must first know themselves, they must be honest with themselves, take the responsibility to improve themselves, and accept themselves. Then they can care about others, treating them with respect and building positive relationships with them. In these relationships, leaders must balance care and candor. Care establishes and defines the relationship, while candor expands and directs it. Leaders at level 2 must realize that relationships aren't enough, but that they can use this new influence to take people to accomplishment. They must be willing to risk their relationships to move their people forward to achieve the vision. Let's take a look at how this level relates to a few of the laws of leadership. First, the law of influence. Influence begins at level 2 with the leader's relationship and it increases from there. Second, the law of addition. Permission leaders lead to help people and add value to them, and they must change selfish motives to focus on others. Third, the law of solid ground. Trust is the foundation of all relationships, and relationships make leadership possible. Like influence, trust begins at level 2 and increases from there. Next, the law of magnetism. In order to change those that level 2 leaders attract, they must change themselves first. Then the law of connection. Leaders must initiate relationships by identifying with and relating to people so that it increases influence. Finally, the law of buy-in. People buy into a leader when they have trust and position. Followers begin to buy in at level 2. Level 3, production. Production separates true, qualified leaders from people with leadership positions. It creates a productive work environment. Maxwell begins to direct his argument towards showing how important results and growth are, and how developing others can exponentially increase this. The upside of level 3 is that now leaders have credibility. Leaders lead by example and build credibility when they have high productivity and high morale. Their example brings momentum, positive results, and attracts many people. The downside of production is that leaders have a heavier weight and responsibility of leadership. They must make difficult decisions to pave the path for others while still nurturing the relationships from the permission levels. How can leaders make the most of production leadership? By practicing the 80-20 rule, building a team, and creating momentum. Leaders need to focus 80% of their efforts on 20% of the most important things they need to do. This includes what they must, should, and love to do. Leaders also need to build a complementary and productive team that they continually inspire, encourage, and give feedback to. Also, leaders should constantly define, commit to, communicate, and model the vision so that the team understands it fully. The 80-20 rule also applies on a daily basis and with the team. Finally, leaders need to find common ground with their team to create the momentum needed for change while staying focused on results. Leaders at level 3 cannot just settle with production, they must also develop others into leaders, which will bring fulfillment. People have the most value, they can grow and reach their potential, improving an organization. Let's take a look at how this level relates to the laws of leadership. First, the law of respect. Increased productivity leads to higher credibility and more people follow. Second, the law of magnetism. A highly productive team attracts other producers. Third, the law of the picture. People are motivated by productive leaders' positive example. Next, the law of victory. The productivity of level 3 leaders makes everyone want to be on their team. Then, the law of Big Mo. Production creates a positive cycle of momentum that is necessary to keep moving. Next, the law of priorities. Production leaders prioritize, practicing the 80-20 rule. Then, the law of sacrifice. As leaders continue to climb the levels, they will need to make sacrifices. Finally, the law of buy-in. People buy into leaders when they see their relationships and results. Level 4, People Development. People development is a shift from the people's productivity to the development of their potential. It creates a developing work environment. At this level, Maxwell's thesis becomes clear as he explains that the goal of leadership is developing others, not just achieving results. The upside of level 4 is that it increases the potential of the organization. Developing people ensures continual growth, sets leaders apart, and brings fulfillment and improvement to not only the people in the organization, but also the leaders themselves. Leaders are responsible to the people, but not for the people. The downside of level 4 is that it requires maturity. Maturity is the ability to think beyond oneself, but in others' perspective, placing their needs ahead of one's own. It requires a selfless attitude, a sense of security, including letting go of control, a long-term mindset, and high commitment. How can leaders develop people? They need to know, show, and grow other leaders. Leaders must have a picture of who they want and find the best people, then place them where they best fit on a team. Next, they must be a leadership example and help their leaders do their jobs. Finally, they must develop their leaders' life skills, believe in them, and evaluate their level, assessing, challenging, and supporting. Leaders at level 4 need to understand Maxwell's thesis. The goal of a leader is to develop others into leaders, which increases productivity and, more importantly, changes others' lives. To do this, leaders must create a leadership culture where they focus on leadership, teaching, practicing, coaching, and rewarding it. Finally, they must realize that developing leaders is a lifelong commitment, and they should invest in the top 20% of people, giving them responsibility and motivating and energizing them, but keeping a humble and open mind and heart. Let's look at how level 4 relates to the laws of leadership. First, the law of process. Developing others into leaders is a lifelong process that takes a daily effort. Second, the law of addition. People development leaders serve the people they lead and pursue success for them. Third, the law of inner circle. Leaders at level 4 develop the people around them to succeed. Next, the law of empowerment. Leaders at this level address their personal insecurities so they can freely empower others, promote them, and release them to lead. Then, the law of explosive growth. By developing other leaders, level 4 leaders' time, effort, and resources compound. Finally, the law of buy-in. Developing other leaders inspires them, and they buy in. Level 5, Pinnacle. Pinnacle creates a legacy of leadership and a positive impact beyond an organization. This is the level where Maxwell successfully finishes proving his thesis that the highest accomplishment a leader can reach is developing others into level 4 leaders. The upside of level 5 is that one's influence has surpassed oneself. Level 5 leaders create successful level 5 organizations. They leave a legacy from the leaders they developed who will continue to develop more leaders. People respect them and give them greater influence, impact, and authority. The downside of level 5 is that leaders may begin to believe that everything is about themselves. They may become arrogant and selfish, thinking that they have nothing more to learn. They may get carried away with their position or distracted by fame and opportunities. Pinnacle leaders must have humility, understanding that others have helped them reach their position. They must stay focused on their vision and purpose and continue working hard. How can level 5 leaders use the pinnacle to do something greater? By developing leaders so that they surpass oneself, having a strong inner circle, and leaving a positive legacy. Pinnacle leaders need to continue to develop others' strength, giving away power and looking for potential in them. With a strong inner circle, level 5 leaders will stay grounded and focused. Finally, these leaders need to use the work and influence they have earned to leave a positive legacy in their organization. Leaders at level 5 must not focus on themselves, but helping others move up. They also need to create crucible moments or experiences that teach invaluable lessons and shape one as a person and as a leader for the leaders they develop. Let's take a look at how level 5 relates to the laws of leadership. First, the law of respect. Level 5 leaders have an enormous influence and their respect compounds. Second, the law of intuition. Level 5 leaders also have a strong leadership intuition. Third, the law of timing. Pinnacle leaders' intuition and experience brings them incredible ability for the right timing. Next, the law of legacy. When leaders invest in the lives of others, they create something that accomplishes, which is the goal in life. Finally, the law of explosive growth. Developing level 4 leaders brings exponential growth. Maxwell shows that leaders embark on a journey with 3 stages: learn, earn, and return. At the learn stage, leaders develop themselves. At the earn stage, they receive rewards for their leadership. And at the return stage, they give back by developing others. This journey helps prove Maxwell's thesis, since he is showing that the final stage is returning, developing others into leaders. Although the 5 levels of leadership is geared toward leaders in the workforce, we can apply it to our lives as students. We can leave a legacy by first growing ourselves as leaders and then adding value to and developing our peers. If we shift our focus from ourselves to them, keeping their interests ahead of ours and building them up, we can become influential leaders.